We've all been in those situations. The vibe in the room is changing. It's not going in the right direction. What do I do? In this segment, we're going to be talking with Dr. Rebecca Bolante about a little bit different take on how best to de-escalate those tense situations. Let's get started.
Are we good? The threats are real, but so are the solutions. From the front lines of keeping people safe, bringing you what actually matters. Here's what you need to know about protecting yourself, others, and the places that matter. Now, here's Jim Bennett.
Welcome to Are We Good? You know, we've all been in those situations where we could tell the temperature in the room was going up. And that's not because of a thermostat. It's because someone's upset. Maybe more than one person is upset. And we can feel the tension in the room and it's gaining momentum. And there's that fear at first of, okay, what do I do now? How do I get myself out of this? Or how do I bring that temperature down for everyone? And these situations can happen just about anywhere, from home to a parking lot, a business, the workplace, a school, a church. It can involve just about anyone, young and old, parents, grandparents, workers, clients, customers, friends, and family. And so we need to be prepared as best we can. And in today's segment, we're going to talk about de-escalation, but we're going to take it from a little bit different angle. We're going to talk about you as an employee or your employees and how job satisfaction, the happiness in the workplace, can have a direct impact on your abilities, your skills to be able to de-escalate a situation. So I'm very excited to have with me today Dr. Rebecca Bolante, which so many of you probably recognize. And she's very well known for her experience as a master in the field of behavioral threat assessment, as well as violence prevention. So I'm excited to have her here today to talk with us on this slightly different angle towards de-escalation. Rebecca, welcome.
Hey, Jim Bennett. It's so good to be back. Thanks for having me back. It's always fun having a chance to talk with you and hopefully offer some information and resources to your listeners.
Absolutely. And for those of you who've been with us through season one and now going to season two, you recognize Rebecca from our very first show where we talked about what Are We Good was going to turn into. And so I'm excited for the next phase of that here in season two. And I'm excited to be here with you, Rebecca. This is going to be a great conversation. So let's launch with talking about compassion fatigue. And that's an important concept as we kind of meld it into the conversation of de-escalating those tense situations. So can you kind of give us the picture of what compassion fatigue is and kind of how it plays a role in this?
Right. Yeah, Jim, as you know, we've gotten more requests for training and resources for small and large corporations on basic de-escalation skills,
Yeah.
which a lot of you listeners, you do this all the time. Sometimes it's easy to forget. And then there's some people who are just newer in the workforce that just need some of that basic training of, looking at the body language and
Yeah.
kind of analyzing, listening, basic listening instead of jumping in trying to problem solve right away. And so I'm really proud of what we've put together and we've gotten great feedback. But we also took some time talking about how people, not just our clients or our students, but the people all around us are feeling this high level of stress.
Yeah.
And I've worked in work environments where the workload's high, people are stressed. There might be the politics happening in the organization. Of course, that never happens to us. Happens all
Never.
the time. And that can be the highest stress for people to deal with, whether you're being micromanaged or the policies are all over the place. But when people are getting stressed, and then, I mean, Jim, this is one of the harder things to do. They're in a situation where they're having to de-escalate someone else. that is a big challenge because already they're feeling depleted. And here they're having to de-escalate someone. And I've seen this happen where they're trying to give it their all and they're not de-escalating the situation. And it's not because they're not good at doing it. They have the skill and ability. It's because they're depleted and other stuff is going on to where they're not bringing their best self to the game. And so, you and I, you've helped me in it's fun where we create different scenarios and scenarios that really work for the current time that we're in, whether it's about talking about politics or working with someone that doesn't have a home and what those conversations look like. And so being able to have those scenarios, but then also asking yourself, hey, how are you doing? So we also have curriculum on burnout prevention and compassion fatigue, which that might be a new term for some folks. It originated in the nursing industry, and it was probably, I don't know, 15, 17 years ago when it was new to me, where I was supervising a group of people and there was stuff going on, sometimes vicarious trauma, but also this compassion fatigue that I wanted to learn more about. And so the piece that I get excited about is not only educating people about what is compassion fatigue and how does it look, but how can you figure out if you have it, and then what can you do
Yeah.
to kind of change it to where you can have that compassion satisfaction. So that's compassion
Yeah.
fatigue in a nutshell, but also figuring out how it ties into that whole de-escalation, which
Yeah.
we have fun doing, huh?
Absolutely. I actually had a conversation with someone recently who said, "Hey, Jim, compassion fatigue doesn't really apply to me because I'm not in the medical profession." And I think for most people, when we say compassion fatigue, that's where their mind would go. But as you and I know, it's beyond just the medical field. Certainly, they have massive impacts from the work they do, but it's beyond that. So, kind of dial us in on that a little bit better as well, if you would.
Right, right. The emergency services, nurses, clinicians, but we're seeing it in other situations. School teachers,
Yeah.
big one. Even people that work IT, the help desk. So when you're working with individuals that are stressed and maybe they're suffering, maybe they don't have options, and you're carrying that for them, and that's that skill that we try to learn early on, and we try to practice that boundary setting, and then also that detached empathy to where you still have that empathy, but you can let go of it, so you're not carrying that weight. But even people working with animals, Jim. So environmental reasons or animals, we see compassion fatigue to where in our training we use the ProQual, the Professional Quality of Life
Yep.
Inventory. I didn't invent it or create it. I wish I could take credit for it, but it's a great self-administered tool that it really gauges your compassion satisfaction, your compassion fatigue, and then also your burnout. And so you go through, you rate it, you have to flip around some scores. So do it carefully on that second page. Or if you're doing it online, I'll do your calculations for you. But it's interesting to see, you might have more compassion fatigue than you realized.
Right.
And what can you do? Sometimes people need to do a whole career shift, maybe
Yeah.
change your job if you have that luxury. I know some of us, we just need a paycheck, so you can't change your job.
Yeah.
One thing though, lately, is it okay if I keep talking or you have another question for me?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you one quick question though, because I don't want to leave compassion fatigue without discussing this. And that is simply, I think a lot of times people do go to their employers, to their supervisors, explain what's going on. And there is some compassion for them at times, and they'll say, "Hey, yeah, go ahead and take an extra day off, or let me help you with your workload." Well, that's could be a good answer or a partial answer, but there's other things that employers can do or employees can ask for to better help them manage that fatigue that occurs, because they're looking for those things that really are impactful, that again add to job satisfaction, reduces burnout, and helps them be more effective when dealing with those escalating situations. So what can employees ask for? What can employers think of to better help their employees manage this?
First, let me back up to some of the symptoms that you might see either for yourself or
Sure.
as the supervisor is attendance might change. for the person. They might be doing their workload differently, where they're becoming more cynical. They don't seem like they have any joy with work, and maybe before they were really into their work and they loved it. For the individual, you might see a difference in your spiritual beliefs or connections. Kind of like, does this really matter anymore? Or why is this all here? So you go through this spiritual kind of dilemma. And then also your mental health. You're just feeling kind of like sad and kind of like, why did I choose this career? Why am I here? So there's different signs, and in that ProQual you can learn more about that. And you're right, it's not all about. In fact, one employer is like, well, we'll do a spa day. So I joked saying, no, it's not all about bubble baths and spa, and then all of a sudden everyone's healed, right? It's really about that culture of support and um, kindness. The other thing I wanted to mention, especially so most companies have an EAP, Employees Assistance Program. And so I would encourage you to find out more about your EAP, and hopefully you have one. And then also, what do they have as resources specifically to combat compassion fatigue and burnout? And what could you draw in for yourself as a manager? And I really emphasize that, because even if you don't think you need it, go through those motions, go and find out what's out there, use it. And that way you can, in your staff meeting, naturally convey that instead of being the know-it-all that tells them what to do, you can just say, hey, I checked this out and called them, and these are
Yep.
our resources. That has helped a lot of people with information and tools, but really that culture of, it's hard too. Managers are really struggling right now, Jim, with all the budget cuts, the layoffs. I mean, talk about compassion fatigue. There's managers experiencing that because they really don't want to lay people off. They don't want to cut budgets. And here they're
That's
faced
right.
with some hard decisions. And so really it's that culture of really analyzing what people are bringing to work and that kindness that you can bring, and to try to bring some joy back into the workplace. That levity that is so important, to be a little silly at work. Um, we've brought that into our de-escalation
We
training.
have.
And it surprises me still when I tell people that, we don't laugh enough. I mean, how many times do children laugh a day? It was like 300 times a day, that little kids.
Yeah, yeah.
And then as adults, it's like 10 to 20 times a day. So try to have that laughter. And even if it's a forced laughter, there's research out there to back that even if it's an intentional laugh that you're having to push through and give a belly laugh,
Yeah.
that it does something to your body and to your outlook right away, that really can be contagious and also helpful for you in the work environment. Making sure you do it carefully, of course, and appropriately, so you're not laughing at a person to cause any harm. But having laughter back, and Jim, you're always so much fun to laugh with. We have a lot of time where we laugh together, um, which is great.
We do. And, I can remember back the first time we kind of introduced this. We were teaching, if everyone can kind of imagine this, a class on de escalation, a lot of good meat and potatoes, tips on what you can do to bring down that temperature. And Rebecca said, hey, we're going to take you on this other little path here, and we're going to talk about laughter. And at first I was like, where is this coming from? And I got to tell you, it was masterful. And now we've fully incorporated it into what we do, because it is impactful on how people then in turn de-escalate situations. So I want to take just a couple more minutes to talk about that pathway of laughter, because it's actually huge and it's very unique to us. And I'm excited about this. And I've seen the changes in our students when we incorporate this into our conversations.
Yep, yep. And even if it's, let's say, your threat assessment team, or maybe it's your student care team,
Yeah.
or maybe it's just your work group. We work a lot with security folks. In fact, with the ASIS group, we did a session just the other week on incorporating laughter into the workplace, and they had
Good.
great stories of things that they're already doing, but it was nice to share with each other and laugh together. And I'm a strong believer that a team that can laugh together and be playful,
Yeah.
And actually have intentional times where you can be playful, and the leaders can do this. You can carve out time.
Right.
The better it is that you're going to be able to de-escalate situations, that you can count on each other, that that workplace grievance can get resolved at the very low level. So this laughter piece, which this is just the beginning of the journey this last year, but I'm planning and doing more things. Hopefully writing a book here. Well, I am writing a book.
You
It's just
are
not
writing a
published.
book.
I am.
Yes.
Yep. On how important laughter is. And boy, there are times like what you said, Jim, where you could think, did I even laugh yesterday out
Yeah.
loud? And so I I signed up for that international yoga class, and it's open to anyone. So it's not truly yoga. It's called the Laughing Yoga International Laughing Yoga class. And it's 7 p.m. every day, people from around the world, and you laugh together. And it is so much fun. Now, my family, they kind of think it's a little wacky when I'm in my office and I'm just cracking up laughing. And they have movements and they're moving around, but really, life is so short.
Yep.
We need to find ways to laugh, whether it's unintentional or you're just forcing yourself to laugh.
That's right.
Really, it's important, and it's yeah, you and I have dealt with a lot of loss over the last few years,
We
and
have.
gotten to a place in my career where we want to help people learn and grow, but at the same time, we're going to have fun in the process of it.
Absolutely. And we never have enough time to finish these conversations. And certainly when your book comes out, we're going to talk more about this and really dive deeper into this and continue to build that nexus between job satisfaction, eliminating burnout, and that happiness in the workplace, and how that can better prepare you for those escalating situations. But before we do anything further here, I just want to ask you, give us a couple of just really solid tips on what we can do to best de-escalate situations, especially since we've kind of incorporated this conversation about laughter, compassion fatigue, those sort of things.
One that's real simple, and I'm really good at telling it, not as good as doing. So you have to be intentional,
Mm-hmm.
intentional to the point of putting, at least for me, putting in your calendar, creating a on Monday at 10 o'clock. So
Mm-hmm.
find something that you love to do and do it as often as you can.
Yeah.
That would be my one thing. And then also, it seems like when we work on one area of our life, we lack in the other.
Yeah.
So if you're busy working, are you really, how are you treating your body? And so be mindful about getting out in nature, walking, experiencing different things. But again, we all know what to do. Those self-care plans, eat right, exercise, don't have that screen time, but just find one thing that you can be intentional about and put it in your schedule. And then I challenge you to laugh, even when you're driving in the car, if you're by yourself, laugh out loud and give yourself a belly laugh and see how you feel. So I challenge you to do that.
Great, great advice. We've just started to touch the surface of this approach to de escalation, but it's been exciting. And I know when your book comes out, we're going to be talking a lot more about this. But this is great stuff. I hope everyone takes note. And the importance of taking care of yourself. I mean, that's huge. It's so important in this equation that if you're not taking care of yourself, it puts you at a disadvantage for when you're dealing with those situations where the temperature's going up and you're trying to bring it down. So check us out on Bolante.net for more information about de-escalation and some of those services and trainings that are provided. We promise now that in every one of these classes, we incorporate that self-care component, that happiness component, that laughter component, because there is a direct nexus between that and your abilities. So, again, Rebecca, thank you as always. I look forward to our next discussion.
Thank you, Jim Bennett, and I hope you'll have me back again. This is fun to visit with you and is a great show.
Thank you. And don't forget to check out Bolante.net. And as always, before disaster strikes, ask that ever important question: are we good?